smooth metal is illuminated in the sunlight, but it goes unnoticed through the fear and the haze. The soldiers only see the war, blood, guns, death.
Hate and fear in the young soldiers' eyes against one another juxtaposed with the love and loyalty they have for their loved ones back home.
For those who leave to never return, for those who return to never be the same.
At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, November 11th, 1918, an armistice began ending World War I, the war to end all wars. Canadians who went off to war did so in order to protect their people and country. They believed that without freedom, there can be no ensuring peace, and without peace, no enduring freedom. On Remembrance Day, we acknowledge the courage and sacrifice of those who serve their country and acknowledge our responsibility to work for the peace they fought hard to achieve. We remember the brave men and women for their courage and their service for our country. By remembering their service and sacrifice, we recognize the privilege of freedom they fought to preserve. For one brief moment of our life, we take the time to remember why we must work for peace every day of the year.
To me, Remembrance Day is all about honoring, remembering, and celebrating those who gave their lives fighting for the freedoms that we enjoy.
And they are willing to make that ultimate sacrifice to, protect what they believe in, to protect what they love, to protect what they care for.
I like to remember and think about the soldiers who fought for my freedom and my family's freedom so we could all live a beautiful life.
We remember everyone who was in the Army.
I celebrate Remembrance Day at school by wearing a poppy and taking some time to reflect on the freedom of education that I enjoy.
We go to assemblies.
They will often have skits and dancers to kind of represent Remembrance Day.
And I really like to listen to the poems because they're very impactful.
I used to be in cadets. I used to be in the Army, known as Land. I was a lieutenant. I always did the Remembrance Memorial Day every day when it came around.
Personally, I celebrate Remembrance Day by attending ceremonies in person or virtually.
Even at school, I always remember to keep in mind, I should be thankful for what I have for those who, gave their lives to protect me, but also everybody else as well, and for those who didn't come along.
Juno Beach was one of the 5 beaches of the Allied invasion of German-occupied France, notably the only one led entirely by Canadians. It was east of the British beaches Gold and Sword. Obviously, taking responsibility was the Canadian Army, who, after a naval bombardment by the Royal Canadian Navy, landed on the beach. The landings initially encountered heavy resistance from the German 716th Division, as the bombing proved less effective than had been hoped. Several assault companies, notably of those Royal Winnipeg Rifles and the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada, took heavy casualties in the opening minutes of the first wave, but strength in numbers, coordinated fire support from artillery, and a good Canadian leadership, of course, led to a victory being secured within 2 hours of landing.
When we got there, we saw the sort of Juno Beach Center that had been created in that area. And one of the first things we did is we went down and right to the beach with the students, right? And we had done a lot of background work with these 24 or so students to sort of, again, get them to understand the significance of Juno Beach and how Canada contributed amongst other countries. It was always the one that was talked about, and we would highlight it on Remembrance Day and obviously within the course of History 12 that I taught. But I think what really impacted me when we got there with students was the fact that it became a lot more real, right? You know, when you see the pictures or you watch the videos or you talk about it in class, it does seem something from the distant past, right? And you get a true appreciation for what those soldiers must have gone through when you have your feet in the sand there, and also just a much better understanding of the sacrifice, right? As you see those sort of glistening white tombstones over there, right? It becomes a lot more real. It was also very powerful and overwhelming to see how many names were on some of these memorials, like Menin Gate.